and welcome back to Tech Tactics. In today's video we'll be discussing the Nvidia 3060 Ti and whether it's still a good option for 1440p in 2024. The 3060 Ti was released in late 2020 and has been a popular choice for gamers due to its performance at a reasonable price. With new graphics cards being released each year, it's important to ask whether the 3060 Ti will still be relevant in 2024. Let's find out. But first, a message from our sponsor. The online marketplace for CD keys and software. G2A.com, where you can find discounts on all the keys you need. The first game today is Far Cry 3. Now, I had trouble getting this game to work until I read a post suggesting that I disable all but 4 CPU cores in the BIOS. Surprisingly, after I set the CPU to run with only 4 cores, the game launched successfully. If you've got an idea of what it is, why it wouldn't launch without disabling them cores, please leave it down in the comments below. Far Cry 3, now over a decade later, still looks amazing, with the graphics set on the Ultra Settings preset and with motion blur turned off. This graphics card features 8GB of GDDR6 VRAM and has 4,864 CUDA cores. In the UK you can find one on the used market for around £220. While it may not be the most powerful option on the market, it offers a great balance between performance and affordability. Far Cry 3, an older title released in 2012, runs at an average of 75 FPS and with a 1% low of 51 FPS. Overall, the 3060 Ti gets a thumbs up for Far Cry 3 at this resolution. Next is Half-Life 2, which recently celebrated its 20th anniversary with an exciting new update. This update introduces a feature called Classic Effects, which enhances the visual experience for players. By setting the graphics options to high, players can enjoy a fluid gaming experience. Users with an RTX 3060 Ti graphics card, the game can run smoothly at 1440p without any upscaling, delivering excellent performance at this resolution. Additionally, it is likely that Half-Life 2 can also handle 4K resolution on this specific card. The average frame rate is 288 FPS and the 1% low is 145 FPS. Overall, this game runs well on the RTX 3060 Ti. Next we have Cyberpunk 2077. The RTX 3060 Ti allows the game to look stunning while maintaining solid performance without relying on ray tracing. The RAM usage is at 16GB out of a total of 64GB. It's important to monitor RAM usage, especially with newer game titles. Currently, ray tracing is disabled because it would significantly impact performance, and motion blur is also turned off. Personally, I dislike motion blur because I prefer to see what the game looks like clearly, rather than having it blurred during movement. Cyberpunk 2077 performs well with this resolution set to a native 1440p and the graphics preset on high, while averaging a smooth 57 frames per second and with a 1% low of 47 FPS. The next game is Fortnite, which was developed using Unreal Engine 5. In this video, we disable certain features that may affect performance. We turn off ray tracing as well as lumen, which improves lighting effects. Many players opt to lower their graphics settings to achieve higher frame rates. Fortnite is set on the medium graphics settings at a resolution of 1440p. Without ray tracing, the game will require approximately 21GB of system memory. You can expect an average frame rate of 119 FPS and a minimum of a 66 FPS. The next game is Company of Heroes 3, which is by far my all-time favourite real-time strategy game, released in February 2023. The new turn-based style feature added to the Italian campaign took some getting used to, but I enjoyed it overall. The 3060 Ti handles high settings exceptionally well. Again, with the resolution at 1440p, the average frame rate for Company of Heroes 3 is 62 frames per second, and with a 1% low of 53 FPS. also maintaining that desired 60 FPS mark. This demonstrates that the 3060 Ti continues to be a highly capable graphics card for 1440p gaming in 2024. Next is Forza Motorsport, and it looks fantastic on the medium settings, with colours that really stand out when HDR is enabled. By now, near the end of this video, you might expect me to stop mentioning 1440p for each game and explaining all the settings in detail. However, if you're considering purchasing a 3060 Ti, I've provided timestamps in the description. This way, those who are only interested in one or two of the games featured in this video can easily skip to the parts they want to see. At 1440p, additionally, the RAM usage is around 21 gig and with an average of 60 FPS and a 1% low of about 53 FPS. Overall, I've become quite the optimization settings expert. Getting that 60 FPS sweet spot can be quite difficult, but I've managed to pull it off with ease. Next up is Starfield. This game is quite demanding on the GPU, especially at 1440p resolution and on the low settings preset, with motion blur turned off. The purpose of this video is to evaluate whether the 3060 Ti graphics card can still deliver a good gaming experience at 1440p. In Starfield, the average frame rate is just 46 FPS and with a 1% low of 39 FPS. The only way to achieve better performance in this title is by enabling upscaling or frame generation, or even consider lowering the resolution to 1080p. Based on its performance in Starfield, I'm giving the 3060 Ti a thumbs down, as we did not reach our target of 60 frames per second. Next we have Red Dead Redemption, which runs at 1440p on high settings and utilises around 11 gig of system memory. It might sound unusual to refer to it as a new old title, but this gem had an impressive journey, waiting nearly 14 years before finally being released on the PC. When the game is set on the high settings and with motion blur disabled, it achieves an average frame rate of 186 frames per second, dipping as low as 129 FPS. Performance indicates that the game manages 1440p resolution smoothly. The next game is Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. This game is brilliant, but it still has a few performance issues. In one of my recent videos, I mentioned that new game releases over the past few years have often been disappointing due to poor gameplay, numerous bugs, and general lack of optimization, with many titles feeling rushed. Although I'm enjoying this game, the performance has been disappointing. With an RTX 4090, it runs decent, but using a 3060 Ti doesn't provide a good experience, especially considering the 8 gig of VRAM. When set to the low graphics settings and with motion blur disabled and with depth of field turned down to the lowest setting, the system memory usage can reach 21 gig. To achieve an average of 60 FPS, we can either enable upscaling or frame generation, or even drop the resolution to 1080p. On average, Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl runs at only 53 FPS and with a 1% low of just 35 FPS. The RTX 3060 Ti remains a solid choice for budget-conscious gamers seeking a decent 1440p experience, but it's starting to show its limits with the latest Unreal Engine 5 titles. The final game on our list is The Last of Us Part 1. This game looks stunning, but requires a substantial 32 gig of system RAM to run smoothly. When using the RTX 3060 Ti and with frame generation, upscaling and motion blur disabled, along with the graphics setting set to low, The Last of Us achieves an average of 59 frames per second, with a 1% low of 53 FPS. Additionally, the GPU usage is at 99%. This game would benefit from enabling frame generation or upscaling. In conclusion, the RTX 3060 Ti is still a great option for 1440p gaming in 2024 and will likely remain a viable option for a few more years. While it may struggle with the most demanding games in the future, it's still a great option for gamers who want a balance between performance and affordability. Whether the 3060 Ti is a good option for you depends on your individual needs and preferences. If you're happy with the performance of your current graphics card, there might not be a need to upgrade just yet. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tech content and gaming fun.